Welcome everybody. This is the Thursday evening Viper trading webinar. If you're here to learn about trading Viper tools on the futures markets, you are absolutamente in the correcte place. Tonight's topic is quickly identifying trends and ranges and how to trade them. So without further ado, let's take care of our standard disclaimer so we can get over to some charts and look at trade setups, which of course is why everybody's in here tonight. All communications from Viper Trading Systems are for educational purposes only. Futures trading does involve risk, and there is a risk of loss. Nothing contained in this webinar, other webinars, including the live trading room, are to be construed as investment or trading advice. And everyone in here does understand that you do trade at your own sole discretion. By the way, if you're just coming in, like I said, we are literally just getting started, and if you do have to leave early, don't worry about it. As usual, we will record all of this, and it'll be posted to the web, both on the free open website as well as the member area tomorrow morning after we get done with the live room. So let's get over to some charts, and I'm going to start off showing a couple of different things that I think everybody's going to hopefully find very helpful, and I'm going to position it in such a way that you can try to use it as best you can to your advantage. And here again, you don't have to use it if you don't want to, but sometimes you might find it helpful. So what you're looking at here is two charts, and on the left is NASDAQ, and on the right is ES. So most of you know, and maybe you don't, I should probably do a quick refresher quiz on how these markets work together. So let me see how many of you are up to speed on this. So if I was to ask a question between, and this isn't always true, but most days it's true, between NQ and ES, which one normally is the leader or makes a move first before the other one? So if you typed in N, you would be voting for NQ as the leader. Or if you think that ES leads the NASDAQ market, type in an E. I'll give you 5 seconds. Which one of these two equity markets, and ideally, of course, they should work in parallel with each other. In other words, their moves are going to be very similar in nature, but one normally leads the other, sometimes by a few seconds, sometimes by several minutes. All right, 3 seconds left. Enter a Q. Which one's the leader between these two equities? Most times, most days. Time's almost up. 2 seconds. 1 second. Cast your vote on the leader. 1 second. All right, time's up. All you got this correct. Yes, it's normally NASDAQ leads ES. Now, you might say to yourself, why is this helpful? How can I use this to my advantage? Let's look at some things that happened here. First, before I go into detail in terms of the timing, I do want to just quickly make an observation that the price patterns you see on both charts are very similar to each other, right? That's the first thing you have to do. You kind of make a visual inspection. And so what I mean by that is, let's just take a quick look. Here we can see that there was a spike right here in the aftermarket. This line demarcation here, the white line, is the start of the new trading session for the futures. So this would be the end of the day, of the current day. This is how the day ended for ES. And then over here you can see to the left that this is how the day ended for NASDAQ. Okay? And then we use this current day open, high, low out of the box ninja indicator. And so when the new market opens for the day, you get this demarcation line right here on ES and the similar demarcation line here to the left. Now, the first thing that probably jumps out at you, hold on a second, I need to It's getting cold here. I'm going to close my window. Stand by to my office. Stand by 1 second, please. Sorry about that. The sun's starting to go down here and wind whipping up a little bit, and it was a nice sunny bright day. I had the windows all open, and now it's like getting freezing in here. Sorry about that. Okay, yeah, so if you take this line here on the left, in fact, it'd probably be easier if I blew it up a little bit like this. Let's do that. Let's look at what happened after the new session opened on both markets. And then I want to scroll back to the open of the session this morning. Okay. In fact, I'm going to scrunch this down because there's so many bars. There's like, even though I have an 8 range on the left and a 4 range on the right, you can see that there's, even with the fact that the bar is twice as large, there's probably 2 to 3 times as many bars on the left as there are on the right. You see that, everybody? See that? Now let's look at some times together and see how this worked. You see that? Okay, so just to be clear, this line here on the left on NASDAQ is equal to this line here on ES. Okay? All right, let's turn this in from cursors to crosshairs. Okay, here we go. Crosshair on the left and a crosshair on the right. Now, right at the open here, you can see you got some jostling around, and you're going to see this a lot. So what you find is that the size of the volatility, the moves and the swings, are much more pronounced on NASDAQ than they are on ES. In fact, I would go so far as to say they can be as much as 2 to 3 or 4 or 5 times larger. So, for instance, can you see how right here, just a few minutes into the open, that NASDAQ started to break? Right here. 15:12. This would have been 12 minutes in after 3 o'clock, which is the open of the market right here. 3 o'clock, right? 3 o'clock Pacific. I'm in California Pacific time. We come up, we do a quick bip up, little head fake. We come down, and this low of the session is identified by the white dashed line. The open of the session was here, and the high of the session was established here. So here we break. Now notice what happened. You have very similar price action on ES, but look how much less pronounced it is right here. Here you just do a little bip up. You start here. You'd come up literally about maybe 10 ticks. And then you kind of dink around a little bit here. And this break of the low of its morning occurred at 15:15:31. Now let's come over here to NASDAQ and look at when that break occurred over here. 15:13, 15, right very close to the same time, but just a hair before it. Here's something else that would have helped you a lot. Can you see this consolidation patch right here around 15:30, 15:36 on the left? This large, chunky kind of thing here, and then it broke down at 15:47. That consolidation patch on the left equates to right here, that big honker, equates to this tiny little consolidation patch on ES where it just kind of sat right here. And then she broke down at 15:47, 15:35, 15:47, she broke. What was that time over here? Well, almost about the same time, within a minute of each other. See how the movements are very close and parallel to each other? And sometimes NASDAQ is just a hair before when it breaks. So the way I use this is, many of you I've mentioned this to, is that It's kind of like a GPS roadmap of what trades I should be looking to take. And I don't necessarily usually trade NQ. I won't put a trade on here. Occasionally what I might do is put a sell and sim here and then track it and see what it's doing. Okay, now I want to show something that's happening right here. I want to show two things. That spike down here at 1547.30 occurs at the same time as this spike down right here. And then notice you get a little consolidation patch where you don't really put in a double bottom right here, and then she starts to head up. This box on the right equates to this box on the left, right here. See how much larger and choppier the NQ consolidation is in those areas? And then she breaks up and goes on a tear. Now, NASDAQ goes, when it breaks the swing here, you know, 79.50 around 1601. She just does a blango. What is that? 100 ticks probably. So went from 80 to 10. 80 to 10 is, yeah, 120 ticks. This is 120 ticks on NASDAQ right here. But notice when you break up on ES, you only go from 58.50 all the way up here to 66. That's 8 times 4, 32. So fully it's a quarter of the movement. Now, given the fact that NASDAQ was breaking up, could you have gone ahead and taken a long trade here when it broke out of the box? What do you think? Was this a pretty solid long? And then trail it up as you get this bip up to here, given the fact what NASDAQ was doing over here? What do you think? In other words, could you have anticipated, based on the price action, that it was going to come out of that box and you were going to get a nice long trade? Sure, of course. That's why I'm showing this to you. Now, what's happening right now? This is live in the market. What is happening as we speak? We're watching it right now. Let me frame it to you this way. Let's come back over here and see what each of these markets was doing just literally a few minutes ago. Here we can see that we punched up and this punch right here on ES broke several swing levels over here and here, and then turned the background green. Bars are predominantly blue. Mid-band and all the bands are starting to stair step up, and it pulls back and it sits right here. I was literally getting ready to open up this webinar, and I was watching this happen. And that box on the right corresponds to, let me put some time on here, 1708, 1705, 1708, 1705. More or less, that box on the right corresponds to this consolidation that occurred pretty much kind of right in here like that. But you see how much more pronounced it is? See how much larger it is? And you could actually make the case that it kind of broke out right there, 1707. And where did this break occur? 1708. That bar was about a minute later. And you got a little wiggly do here on NASDAQ, and then she really took off. So let me ask you a question. Based on the price action of what NASDAQ was doing over here, was this a legitimate long trade box on ES right here? Yes or no? Look at the two together. Could we have a pretty good sense that we could go ahead and take that long with a tight stop on it and we'd be up and at least get a scalp? 4 seconds. Yes or no? What do you think? You being a solid long right now off the mid-band? What do you think? 3 seconds. Type in your thoughts. Yes, just a simple yes or no. Is that a legitimate long trade that happened literally a few minutes ago? What do you think? See how they correlate to each other? One leads the other one just a little bit. See how much helpful that can be to you? It's not a lot, okay? Sometimes they're almost exactly, it's like the algos are tuned almost perfectly to each other. But sometimes NASDAQ, for some reason, that algo jumps the gun a little bit, right? And then that ES one kicks in a little bit later, mainly because of volume and liquidity. There's much more, you know, here, let's look at the liquidity right now as we speak. Make sure I'm in sim here. So let's see, you got 42, 20, 22, 25, 30, 36 bid and ask. And you come over here on old Spazzy, and you got what? 4, 1, 2, 5, 3, 2, 4. Now, during the day, if you ever watch this, this would be, 5, 6 times this. It's not unusual to see 2 to 4 or 500 bid or ask constantly up and down, 900 ask, 800 bid. Where NASDAQ, you'd be lucky to see 50, 60, 100 bid, 80 bid, 60 bid, 40 ask. So what I'm trying to say is, think of it this way. This is like a speedy race car. This is like what's a fast boat? Cigarette boats, right? Think about your Formula One, your NASCARs, 100, 120, 150, 180 miles an hour, aircraft, car, boat, whatever. This is Speedy Gonzalez over here, right? Wants to get out of the gate quick. Wants to push fast and very, very high and very quick. And here's the steam tugger coming along. Okay, this is old tugboat Bessie. She gets her done, but it's going to be a lot slower and not near as far. But when old speedboat's going here and it's going in a certain direction, which is what we're looking for, right? Normally ES will follow very quickly thereafter. And if you can learn to master that sort of a little bit advanced signal, it will help you a lot. And that's why in the live room you hear me always say, and say all the other equities like YM and ES maybe are heading up, like this morning, right? They were heading up and range bound, and then NASDAQ flipped and tanked, and it ripped all the others right down with it. And I'm going to show you that in a second. Paul, yeah, this is what we're showing here is the Viper indicator. So I'm connected to the data source Rhythmic through NinjaTrader. This is NT7. And so the colors that you see on the chart are the background colors, which are Viper indicators. The bar colors, red, yellow, and blue. The power meters, which are the trends on the chart, 4 different trends. Of course, we have the predictors, the swing levels. We have the object trader alerts. When you're in an uptrend, you toggle on the long alerts. When you're in a downtrend, you toggle on the short alerts. What happens is when you get mid-band trades, minimum criteria, etc., it flashes the bars. Helps you see them in real time. That's extremely helpful. All our traders love this. They turn this on all the time. I don't show it in here because of simplicity's sake, and I want everybody to learn what they're looking at. So the way we interpret this, Paul, just to answer your question, is that we are retracement traders in our trading style. And so what that means is that when you have an uptrend, it starts with a push or a thrust in the trend direction, which of course you can see here was up. And then we patiently have to wait for a retracement. And a lot of times these retracements will come in, on, or around what we call the midband, which is the thick line here. That thick sort of line right in the middle of 1, 2, 3, 4 bands above it, 1, 2, 3, 4 bands below it, for a total of 8. Now, a lot of times you take mid-band trades, you might hear take your scalp off around line 6, the thin green line here at the top of band 6, and that's because normally from here to here is anywhere around 8 to 10 ticks. And so what we normally do is we trade a 2 lot, so you put 2 contracts on when you enter. You could have entered a market order on the mid-band itself. You could have a limit order buy right here above the box. You could have enabled object trader, which would have gotten long on the close of this bar right here. So multiple different ways to get in long. And if you have a 2 lot, you get up here, you peel 1 off. You have 2 initial stops down here. You're normally 10 ticks away. And then you engage a trail on a runner like such. That's how we advocate doing that's our trading methodology, if you will. Now, it's interesting to see here, too, and I want to just watch this just for another minute, is that you can see that, and let me blow this up so that you can really get a sense of both markets together right next to each other. Let's look at the price action of what's actually happening right now. Can you see, obviously, how far this push was on the left for NASI right here versus the length of the push here. Here we went from 60, 50, 61 to 65. That's 4 handles or 16 ticks. Here we went from 96 all the way to 10. 96 plus 4 is 96. 14. What's 14 times 4? Anybody? 14 times 4 is 56, right? 4 ticks per point, 14 points on this move right here. So this move was 56 ticks. And this move was how much? 16. Right? 4 handles. 4 handles times 4. Now, what's the difference between the two, though? Is the price per tick the same? So therefore, did you make 4 times as much on NASDAQ on this move as you did on ES? What do you think? The price is the same between the two instruments, right? So 56 times the tick value is 3 or 4 times tick value of... That's a question. Anybody? You paying attention? Is this thing on? You there? 5 seconds. What's the tick value of ES? What's the tick value of NASDAQ? What's the difference between these two? Each tick of movement here. What do you think? Is it the same as here? All right, well, let's do some math together. Well, let's do ES first, just so we're all kind of on the same page. By the way, to help you out, they're not. You're paying attention, right? You know that, right? We know that, right? Okay, so let's do the trade calculation just for this quick long trade here, just for giggles. We said that the ES long was approximately plus 16 ticks, right? Okay. Now I have to multiply that times something. Dollar per tick. What do I put in here? Well, there's $50 per point, and there's 4 ticks per point. So each tick would be how much? Here, let me help you out. Let's go back over here and let's do it 2 ways. Let's do it this way. 4 points times, what did I just say? Or 16 ticks times 50 divided by 4 is 1250. Most of you are getting that correct. Good. And so how much is that trade worth? Roughly. Just, I know you got a scalp and you did trail and all that and whatever. I'm just using just a very simple, quick example. $200. Right? Good. Okay, on a one lot. One lot, 16 ticks, $200. All right. Cool. Now, over here, we said this was get a little text pad going here on NASDAQ long. By the way, you watching? You can obviously see that ES would have stopped out at line 6, so you're out of both trades. But let's just do this one for giggles. Okay, so we had an NQ long, right? And we said it went from 96 to 10. So what's that? 14 points. And what is a point worth on NASDAQ? Well, let's see. I think there's 4 ticks per point, and it's $5 per tick. That would be times 20. 20 times 5 is, right? Times 20 per point. $20 per point. Or 56 times 5, right? $5 per tick. $280. So in the end, it's kind of deceiving a little bit because on one hand you say, wow, Charles, look at NASDAQ just popped 50 plus ticks. This is a huge move. And look at dinky little ES dinking around here with 16 ticks. What the heck? But the tick value on ES is 2.5 times the size of NASDAQ. So in the end, they're almost pretty close to each other. Only $80 difference in the end. But here again, we're not necessarily trading NASDAQ, taking the trade per se. You can put it on in sim and track it. You know, I do that a lot. I'll just, if I see it breaking, I'll just go ahead and throw a sim trade on there just to have something to track what it's doing, right? Visually. Now, what do you think's going on right now? Well, I don't know. We'll come back to this later because I do want to go show you the open. It's really important that you look at the open, and we're going to use this tomorrow morning, okay? Here we paused, and then I'll be darned, NASDAQ broke down. So technically speaking, could you be short on NASDAQ right now? And you're coming right back to the mid-band. Now, let me ask that same question while you ponder the answer to this, being short. Could you be short ES? Or did you just stop out of the long trade right here at line 6? And it could bounce. Yes, no question on short on the right on ES. Yes or no, short ES. Y for yes, N for no. 4 seconds on the clock. Are you going to short ES? Yes or no? 3 seconds. 2 seconds. Y or N? Boop. Don't think about it. Time's up. No. Could you be taking a long? Could this be a long setup in ES? Oh, Charles, this is so confusing. What am I going to do? Whoa, no, what's happening now? What the heck is that? NASDAQ came right down where it broke out at 61 and it's starting to bounce, and NASI went so deep. Look how deep the retracement on NASDAQ was. This arrow here on the right equates to this arrow here on the right, on the left. This bounce that's happening in real time on the right is the same as the bounce over here. That is this. So what is the difference between the two? What is the difference between the two? NASDAQ goes much deeper. Didn't we say that a few minutes ago? Isn't the volatility on NASDAQ is pronounced as much as 3 to 4 times as much as the retracements on ES? That was just a deep retracement on NASI. She might go up and take that swing out, and so might ES. So here again, you can't interpret, and I really want to make this point, and here's where I'm going with this, and I want everybody to sort of take this away from this. If you're going to use this methodology, where NASDAQ helps give you a little bit of a guidepost and sometimes a heads up on a directional move up or down, whether you want to get short or long by as much as a minute or two ahead of time, you've got to be ready to deal with this. And I'll just speak directly to it. These very deep, pronounced pullbacks like this, where it just moves, it just dips way down like that. That could be like a 30 tick plus drop. And here you only pull back maybe 8 or 10 ticks on ES, and ES is actually still looking for long trades over here. See that? Yeah, that was. This is actually sort of a deep probe for a long trade, Walter, is what that turned out to be. Right. Now, obviously, you can see that you're staying well above the midband here, and I don't know if that's going to turn into anything because volatility is dying down a little bit. But let's go back and look at the open. Let's see how you could have used this to your advantage on the open this morning. Let's go back and let me show you share with you a couple of things real quick that I think you're going to like a lot. Anybody see that big sell-off? Was anybody there around 8 o'clock, 8:30, 8:20, I think it was? I was short 2 lot on ES, and I want to show you what happened. Anybody catch those moves? Sandra, were you there? Did you see it? They just ripped these equities. I think the Dow dropped 240 points in like less than 5 minutes. It was incredible to watch. It was just absolutely incredible. In fact, I'm going to show it to you right now. You saw it? You were in gold? Yeah, I think gold took off like a bird, didn't it? Here, I'm almost back to it. Stand by. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Just 1 second, please bear with me. I'm going to try to scrunch this chart. There's so many bars. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I don't know if I can get all these bars on here. I'll try my best. All right, I've got NASDAQ up. Now let's see if I can get back to ES. Just literally 1 more second, please. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Here's I got what I want to show. Now, in the pre-market session and at the open, for some of you, if you're brand new and you're seeing this for the first time or you're on a free trial, just bear with me. I didn't spend a lot of time. I normally take some time at the beginning of these webinars and explain a little bit more about. I've already explained, what the indicators are and how to interpret them, and how a mid-band trade can set up in a trend, like that long trade on ES, and how and why you would have taken it. So the converse would be true for your short trades, right? So your thrust would be down, and then the retrace would be up, and you look for what we call kiss and roll off of resistance, normally at or around the mid-band, to get short. Yes, I shorted way up here, Mindy. Let me show you. And let me show you why. I know this isn't going to look as pretty as the aftermarket did, but I would like to share with you how you can see that you were range bound ahead of time. In the pre-market, so I'm here in California, so the open of the equity markets will be this vertical line, more or less right in here. Make it a little bit wider so you can see a little better. Let me get that in the right spot. Let's see, 630 would have been. Oh, it's 636. Let's get it back to the open. 635, 632. There's 630 right there. Now, in the pre-market session, if you were to put two lines on the NASDAQ chart, could you not have put lines that look something like this? You would have had a lot. So here's 630. So you're looking at the pre-market, and you're defining what more or less would be the range for NASDAQ in the pre-market session. So obviously you can see you put a line down in here. There's a couple of spots of resistance. You could put a line in, and this is what you do. This is when you prepare to trade for the morning and you're preparing your charts. One of the first things you have to do on your own charts or in your screen. Gary does this in the room, so he helps you on the instrument you're trading. So if you're trading gold, you do the same thing, right? You put the lines on your chart. And the reason you want to do that is these are support and resistance levels, and they tell you a lot about what a market is doing. In this case here, you could see very clearly that NASDAQ was range bound. So it was not trending. This is not trending in the pre-market session right here. Can everybody see that? Okay. Now, here's the market open. Did the market stay in this range all the way until over here? Yes or no? In other words, is this area right here on the right, which is fully, 45 minutes into the trading session, remaining within the confines of the box on the left? Yes or no? What do you think? Well, pokes its head down a little bit through it here, but that wasn't really much. Yeah. So in the pre-market and after the open, you would say that NASDAQ was range bound. Would you not? Yes. Good. Now, what does that mean over here for ES? Let's look at ES in a similar condition. Here is 630 on ES. Would have been approximately right in here. 634, 31, more or less right in there, like that. Let's blow this up so you can see the line a little bit better. Oops, it's too big. There we go. Let's get these power meters out of the way just for the moment right now. So we can see that in the pre-market session here that that the range on ES looked more or less like the box on the left right here. And so could you have put support and resistance lines on ES? Of course. You would have one up here, and you would have another one down here. You could put it here, you could put it here, anywhere in here. So you would say around 77, 77 and a quarter, 78, you had support, and there was resistance up here just shy of 90 here. So you could make the case that to the right, you remained in the range, much like over here. But what started to happen right here? I'm going to show you a couple of things. You had a swing right here that was broken. Oops. There's so many swings on here. It's kind of messing with my lines a little bit. Hold on. I'm trying to show you something. You had a swing level right here. Right? And you had the low of the day right here. So when did this swing level break to the downside? 8 o'clock. Right? 8 o'clock. And it took out the low of the day at 8:07. So what I'm trying to show you here is that there was some breadcrumb, we say this all the time, breadcrumb clues that NASDAQ left you, portending the breakdown, the imminent breakdown that was forthcoming, and it was this swing high here and a second swing low here. So in other words, if this was going to be an uptrend giving you long trades, this swing should have been higher than this. This swing should have been higher than that. And you would have been in an uptrend looking for retracement longs. But quite the opposite happened, as you can see, whereas this swing was taken out to the downside and it went on to break the low of the morning right here. Not only did it break that swing, it broke the swing that it supported all morning as the bottom of its range and then ultimately plowed right through the low of the day. Now let's look at the same time what ES on the right was doing at that time. Let's come over and get our thing here, our cursor. 754, 756. Where was 754 over here? 756. 754 and 756 on ES were here. 756, 759, right here. What I'm trying to show you is that at the time when this lower high occurred on NASDAQ and it was starting to come down and break this swing and go and take its low out, ES was still all the way up here. In fact, here's 802 when it took this swing up. Right here. That was broken at 802.30, almost 803. 809 is here, and it didn't break its low until 8:15. Where was ES at 8:15? Where was NASDAQ at 8:15? NASDAQ was all the way down here. All the way down here. 8:16, 8:15 on NASDAQ was right about in here. So not only did it break this swing with the higher low, took out the support level for the range all day, plowed right through the low of the morning, and went all the way down to here. And this is all by the time that ES was just getting to its low of the day. Here. Like that. This arrow here corresponds to this arrow on the left. So my question to you is this, now that you have knowledge of this, having watched what NASDAQ was doing all the way back before 8 o'clock in the morning, if you had loaded for bear on shorting ES right here? Yes or no? At 8:08, when NASDAQ was all the way down here, could you have loaded for bear right there? Short, knowing ahead of time what NASDAQ had already done. It had already taken its low of the day out. And you're dinking around up near a swing, just under the swing of the morning. I'm telling you, my friends, that is a load for bear trade right there. I mean, if you want a high confidence level trade where you can put some leverage on, that would be it right there. That is it. It doesn't get any better than that. NASDAQ told you what was going to happen. And as I recall, I don't have it ready, but I think I was watching YM on my third screen, and I can't remember. I think YM may have actually led NASDAQ. One of the two had broken very quickly and was tanking just like a dog, and gold was heading up like a bird. Okay, Jeff. You know what? Somebody's asking what did YM do at that time? You know what? Let me see if I can get a quick YME chart up. Let me do that right now. Stand by. Let me see if I got one handy here. See if I can find one of those puppies. Wait a minute, what's this one right here? No, that's that one. Where's my control panel? All right, okay, in all fairness. Oh, here's my control panel. Okay, does everyone want to see what YME was doing at that time? How she broke in relation to the other two? Anybody interested? Anybody else interested in seeing that? Whether she, in fact, was the leader? I'm pulling up a chart right now, YM chart. Yes? Yes, see how it compares? Okay, all right, let's do it right now. Okay, I'm going to just go back 3 days. All right, it's loading right now. Give me 1 second, please. And I'll have to scroll back to the open. Anybody trade YM, or you just use it for a guide? YM trader, show of hands. Yes? No? Maybe so. Just watch it. You don't trade it. A couple of you trade it. Okay. You know, sometimes it's YM. You know, in terms of volatility, if you will, and whippiness, NASDAQ's obviously the whippiest of them all. But sometimes, you know, some days, not YM can be right behind, you know, right there with her, you know. But then there's other times, I'm sure, when you watch those charts, you see it, where, you know, YM will just behave herself. She'll get, you know, this week there's been several times where she'll get a nice protracted long up move, and she'll just methodically push right back to the midband. Push up, right back to the midband. It's beautiful to watch. It really is. I've taken a few of them. A lot of times I don't take all those. But if I see them and she's in harmony with the other markets, correlations are intact, sure, I'll go ahead and take a YM trade once in a while. All right, YM chart loaded. Let me get back to the open and show what she did in relation to the other two. Okay, let's get back to 8 o'clock. All right, here you go. Okay, first we're going to look at YM versus NASDAQ, and then we'll look at YM versus ES in terms of leadership on that big sell-off. You can see that YM was much smoother in its movement to the upside after the open. Here's 630 to the left, right over here. I think we took a long trade in here on YM. I can't remember. It's coming off a big up move off the lows of the day, so this was very definitely up. And she got a triple top. I remember Gary calling a triple top over here. I think anybody remember that in the room? When we get that triple top around 720, 730. Now let's see when the break of this swing actually occurred on. You remember that, Matt? Remember that? Gary, I think he was looking at a crude trade and he looked over and he says, "Hey, by the way, it's triple top on Wymer over there." And sure enough, let's see when the break of this swing occurred. Let's look at it time-wise. Let's see here. So you're triple topping right around. Ooh, that was early. That was like this one here happened at 740, 751, 746. And the break of this occurred at 755. Wow. She might have been the leader. Let me come back over here. When did this break occur? 801. 755 would have been over here. 755 would have been over here. She hadn't broken yet. Yeah, you were right. Who asked about that? Jeff? Yeah, there's your answer. YM actually broke its support level way up here at 754. She was actually, technically speaking, in terms of the break, the leader right here. And so here is 809. Here is 802, 805. When did she get to her low of the day? That was breached at 814. She got here at 813. 813 ES was all the way, or NASDAQ was all the way down here at 813. So they played a little bit of sort of cat and mouse off each other. You see that? Although YM is much smoother. And there are occasions if you don't like to watch NASDAQ, you find it just too whippy to even be your leader guide, you can use YM as a proxy. Because you can see here that it broke well ahead. Now let's compare this chart and let's compare that to ES and see if you could have used the YM movement as a leadership to your ES short. We saw that break at 754, and let's blow this chart up and see where old Essie was at 754. 754, 56. Yeah, she was still peaking here. See that? That is 7054 on ES. Let's go ahead and put a little circle there. 754. Somewhere right about in here. This circle on ES approximately corresponds to this circle on YM time-wise. This circle here on the left on YM time-wise corresponds to this circle on ES. So in that sense, YM actually, in terms of the break itself of support, was the first to break. Very quickly after that occurred, NASDAQ followed. So here's the sequence of how it went. How this played out. Scrunch down old Nasdaq here a little bit so we can show these right next to each other. And this is how quickly this can happen. And that's why it's the quickness and breadth of the NASDAQ move is when you start watching NQ, it's just sometimes it's breathtaking to watch how fast it moves. It's like somebody put steroids in the algorithm machine and hit the go button. I mean, this whippiness right here, all this whippiness up and down right here like this. Here, let me go back over here. Yeah. Corresponds to this box of small choppiness on the left and corresponds with this area here on ES, which was actually still going up. We'll go look at that in a second, Michael. I want to sort of follow on this trade, and then we'll finish talking about this trade and how you could have played it, and then we'll go back and look at what's going on in real time. We'll do that on all three. Yeah. All right. So the sequence of events was at 754, 755. YM breaks its support level here and shifts from an uptrend to a downtrend very, very precipitously between here and 812 when it took out its low of the day, 813, like such. Very quickly and soon behind it, just right around 8 o'clock, NASDAQ came and broke its support swing right here. And since it was so close to the low of the day, it quickly breached the low of the day here at 804 and then proceeded at 816 to come down and bottom and then start to consolidate. The laggard by far was ES. At that time, we can see at 754, 758, it was still hitting just shy of the swing of the morning here, up around 88 3/4. We were taking our coin up here. Everybody remember that target? We said 88 3/4, 89, and then 90. Remember? Remember those numbers, anybody? So we're taking profit. We stop out, and it didn't break all the way till 809, right here. 808, 35, 809. And we can see that by that point, you were well below the lows of the day on NASDAQ, and YM was making a beeline to break its low of the day right here, like such. So the apex of this sell-off here occurred at 817, and it bounced. 817, it bounced. Was there any bounce at 817 on ES? Well, let's see what happens. Let's look at the consolidation patch and the bounces. Here's the rest of the move right here. This consolidation patch on YM occurred at 817 to 825, and then you continue the descent. That area of consolidation and bouncing was here, much more pronounced on NASDAQ, and then it broke again. And this tiny little patch of sitting here on ES is the same as those boxes on the left. See how tiny it is? I see how it just sat there? See, the subsequent break for the second trade set up, this is minimum criteria trade entries, by the way. That's not a mid-band, but it is minimum criteria. Occurred on ES at 825. This broke here at 825, and now they're all back in sync. And this was at 825, so all within a minute of each other. Now they're all synced up. See it? By the way, if you missed the first leg of the short, this was your re-entry right here. On ES, it would have been the retracement above line 2 in stealth. It was what we call a minimum short criteria entry trade right there. There it is right there. And here you had kind of a deep retracement above line 6. And here you came just above the mid-band for a short setup entry on YM right up in here. Let's see when they all bottomed out. Here you got a V bottom at right around 832. NASDAQ got a V bottom at 832. And ES got a V bottom at 832. So now they're all synced up. And then they ran them back up. Now I only have a couple of minutes, so let's fast forward to what's going on with the three markets. Now, the correlations can be a little less intact in the overnight session because, you know, the algos are, for lack of a better term, sleeping. They might be doing something, but I wouldn't hold your breath, and they aren't always in sync. This is something you want to trade like early in the morning, you know, in the first couple hours. Here, let's get them all next to each other, though, to answer your question. Let's see what they're all doing right now. Okay, I'm fast forwarding to current real-time data. There you go. There you go. This is what they're doing right now. So in terms of volatility, I think you would order them very clearly. You can see you would order them like this. You would have NASDAQ on the left as by far the whippiest of the bunch from top to bottom of volatility, size of range of movement, if you will. And, YM would be next. Obviously, it's not quite as pronounced and whippy. And ES, of course, is the laggard here, even still right now. So this amount of volatility on ES corresponds to this amount of volatility on YM, which corresponds to this amount of volatility on NASDAQ. So there pretty clearly you can see all three right next to each other. The stark difference between how they move. Now, what could we anticipate and see if it possibly happens? Well, it looks to me like there might be some weakness starting to occur in NASDAQ that might cause this to happen, which would cause a ripple effect potentially into YM that may very well cause this to happen. And if these two things start ripping down like that, what might happen to ES over here? What might come out of that box? Well, let's put some lines on the chart. What say you, team? Say YM rips through that. NASDAQ's already ripped through this. NASDAQ's already taken this out and went and checked it. See it? That actually occurred right here. It came up, kissed it, and it's actually rolling over right now. So you need harmony. You need all to be in sync. Here you had a break, a kiss and roll, and NASDAQ's starting to break down a little bit. So what we anticipate, a bounce long here or a short if these two things happen? That and that. What direction should I put on an arrow? I got an arrow now. What am I going to do? Am I going to point it up or am I going to point it down? What say you, team? This is the last question, 5 seconds. U or D, up or down, long or short out of that ES box, assuming that these two to the left break down. Should I go like this or should I go like that? Right. You would look for this swing to break to the downside and look to enter short. Good. Everybody see how that works? See it happening in real time? You can see clearly that NASDAQ is trying to head down with that kiss and roll off that 95.50. Let's see if it can take YME through that support level at 94. You can see ES is already coming out of the box to the downside. See it? There you go. Who was the leader here? David, you can't see the NQ chart? Can everybody see the NQ chart, or do I need to scrunch it in a little bit? Is it? Because I got this big, huge. I think it's like 32 or 34 inch screen, and so to me, it's all fitting on there. But if you have a smaller screen, okay, there's your break on ES. You'd be short. See it? All right, let me scrunch this up so everybody. This is beautiful. See it? Look at that ES. You already have a scalp off. Let me blow this up. Everybody see it just happened? It just happened. Okay, let me scrunch these together a little bit so you can get everybody on it. Get everybody in the pool here. Stand by. There we go. Okay, that was the NASDAQ dragging everybody down. See the short? Can you see it now, everybody? Is that better? Is gold heading up, Sandra? Everybody can see those three charts together now? See? See how as he led it? As he broke that support right here? Kiss and roll, down. YM, drag right, YM right through support here, took it out, right? And we said, if those two are going to break, could you short your box on ES? If those two break, could you short the box on ES? And everybody in here said yes. And you were correct. And you would be short out of this box right here. You could scalp some coin right down here. There's a live trade just set up. And how to use these three together. You took the ES trade, Radon? Good. Bank a little coin at 56 3/4 and then take your stop to break even because NASDAQ's tanking. Everybody see that? That just literally happened like within the past 5 minutes. That's real data happening as you see it. Okay, did everybody see how NASDAQ led and how we interpreted that? Right here. I'm not making this up. This is what I do every single morning. Every single morning I do this exact same thing. Exactly what you see right here. Only it's separated onto 4 big screens with gold. Who took the long on gold? Sandra? All right. You want to see a gold chart? All right. Let's go. Stand by. Give me time to load a gold, and then we're going to wrap up, okay? Well, no, it's okay if you didn't take it, Sandra. What we're trying to do in real time at the end of our webinar here is to show how the leadership can occur and how you interpret it, and then go on to take trades that can be very profitable and do it without fear, because if the correlations are intact, the markets move as they should. Let's try to get a Goldie chart up here. Stand by. Then we'll wrap this puppy up. Goldie, good. Okay, data's loading. Here comes a Goldie chart. Oh, you're welcome, Sandra. I hope that helped. So obviously you can see why we talk about trying to have, at least if you can afford it, get yourself a good graphics card in a it doesn't have to be a speedy, smoking hot PC. It hopes to have good, hard drive. All right, let me pull the gold up here. Here's Goldie. Sure enough, gold broke to the upside. There it is right there. Correlations are intact. Right about when ES broke, Goldie popped this line right here. Look at that. It's beautiful. I love when those correlations are intact. I love that. That's just so good. Now gold should come up here and get that swing up here. Let me get over here. There's gold coming right to it. Now, what we're saying here, just to be explicitly clear about what we're saying, is that if gold plowed up through here like that, I would anticipate that ES would come down here and take that swing out and go to the low of the session right here, and you would take scalp profit here and then engage a trail stop, right? Everybody see that? There, gold just broke it. That's a fresh session high on gold right there. That just happened. So the long, just to be clear, was the break up through here. Right? Oops. I'm sorry for you small, tight screeners. I'm going to have to do a little shuffle of the deck right here. Let me shuffle the deck a little bit for you. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get all the little friendies on the screen here. I'll do this and then we'll wrap up. Okay. Scrunch up YM real quick here. I'm trying to get her to cooperate. Okay, there's the YM drop. Here's the ES drop. And here's the Goldie pop. Goldie continuing to move higher through the high of the session, which is the dashed blue line right here. As she continues to ascend from its breakout of that swing level on its long trade, that should push ES down through here. YM continuing its weakness. Goldie going nice. NASDAQ getting ready to break 50. So looking for support on NASDAQ. Hasn't bounced yet. Still continuing to descend. YM taking out the support. Goldie on fire. Here was the gold breakup right here. ES should break 37.50 and continue lower. Sometimes ES goes to sleep. Need some follow through, Essie. Come on. Come on, little buddy. Now watch what happens when they bounce. What will start to happen here is this, is that when you get the bounce, and the bounce will occur because there will be short covering, okay? And the short covering will start to look like this. Here's what will happen. One of these two will start to go up like this and possibly hit a resistance area, maybe right in here, and roll to give you another short entry. YM theoretically could come on a bounce up into here, like that. Roll off its breakdown area, right? And if ES was going to retrace, it should hold somewhere around the midband where it broke, right there. Which implies that gold would pull back and find support perhaps in here, just under where it broke up. If you retrace. If not, then the current movement will continue, which would be down on equities and up on gold. Want to watch it for a couple more minutes? What do you think? You want to wrap, or you want to give it a couple more minutes, see what happens? I'll take a vote. Still got a lot of people in here. Watch it out, see what happens. Okay. Let's stick around for a couple more minutes and see what they're going to do. I hope this helped. Everybody see how to take these trades? So, in conclusion, what we're saying is that, let me explain how I use it, and you could use it, interpret however you like, and I'll help you do it. But, you start to use the price action of what NASDAQ is doing, like here, for instance, when it came up, came down, break, kiss and roll, break. She clearly led the bunch, and then it dragged YM down with it through the support level here. We watched it at the time that NASDAQ had already broken. If you recall, YM was dinking around right up in here, just under the midband, remember? And we had predicted that this swing was going to break, and it did, right? The corresponding short entry on ES was the break of this box right here, which corresponded to the long entry on gold over here. And ironically, let's get some timing on these, and they're starting to, I don't know if they're going to bounce or not, we'll see. Still look pretty weak on the equities, although you did not break here. You might have gotten a scalp, 59 to, yeah, you got like a 10-tick scalp on SE. Put your stop right here at the midband. It goes a couple ticks above it, because it should roll and hold that. Let's look at some times here. Now this kiss and roll occurred at 1757, and then the swing broke at 1801. So kind of, if you can, remember those times, 1757 and 1801, on our friend Mr. Nazi over here. And this break occurred, we were watching it, I believe, when it broke. Yeah, 1802. So that's why I was saying at 1757 and 1800, as Nazi was breaking and we were watching it, if you recall, YM was sitting up in here, right? And these yellow bars were forming at that time on our friend Mr. Essie here. Yeah, 1802. So this bar actually broke at 1803. So that, by the time that occurred, NASDAQ was already down, right? And the bar in gold broke up here at 1803, 1805, actually 1804. So gold was the last. So in sequence, NASDAQ, YM, ES, and gold pop up in that order. See SE coming back to kiss the midband a little bit. See YME coming up, wicking that resistance level. Okay, let's see where NASI goes. She's got to stay under here, right? Theoretically, support becomes resistance. So that should hold on a kiss and roll, right? You know, it's possible that YM could go a little bit higher. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if YM went maybe as high as here before rolling over. And we said over here, yes, needs to hold for the short case, more or less in here, where she broke down. Coming right up into it. Goldie pulling back. Well, it might be over. Yeah, so you would stop out of ES right now. So you got a quick scalp. Got NASDAQ kind of wicking that resistance level. YM right at it, kissing the midband. Goldie coming into support. Let's see if this can get a higher low here at 25. Like such. It's not so much the how much money you're making on these trades right now. What I'm trying to impress upon you is looking and understanding how the markets work together. Before this retracement ever happened, I drew this line here, and I drew that arrow. Remember? When it was sitting down here, I said if it's going to retrace, it could quite possibly come up into here and kiss and roll for a short. And I said it could get here, just slightly above it on YM, and you got a wick of the midband on YM, and sure enough, you came out of the box here, and Goldie should bounce. But you can see how the algorithms are timed against each other to occur almost at the same time, but one, as I mentioned several times in the webinar, will lead the other one by a few seconds or a minute or two. There's your kiss and roll on NASDAQ. There's your kiss and roll on YME. Kiss and roll on SE. And Goldie should bounce right here. See it? Just all happened right there in the real time. Is everybody getting a sense of the power of the correlations and how you could trade them? Most of you know, of course, I've mentioned that I don't actually take NASDAQ trades. I could have put a sim trade short on here and a sim trade short on YM, and then I would have really shorted ES. And it's quite possible I could have had a buy order on gold too. I like to trade ES and gold together. And like I said, when YM is trending in a very behaved manner and respecting the midband, yeah, I can occasionally go ahead and take a YM trade. It's moving without the other one. Yeah, so the takeaway here is use the correlations to reinforce what you may just trade on ES. ES is a very good instrument to trade. You can make a lot of money trading ES if you trade it in the right way with the proper stops and good targets and good money management and good trade management. You can use these correlations to your favor to make a lot of money trading ES. I would say most of the money I make trading is in ES. Not all of it, but most of it. Because I've just come to learn this silly instrument like the back of my hand. I'll tell you, I can almost feel what this thing's going to do, especially when I'm looking at all these charts next to each other. There's your Goldie starting to bounce right there. It actually held a higher swing. Its prior high of the day actually held right here. See it? See how it wicked it and bounced? Right here. Notice how gold's lagging a little bit, though. See how the kiss and roll occurred on NASDAQ here at 8:15.29, and this bar formed at 8:13 on, 8:16 on YM and rolled. And this bar rolled back out of the box on ES at 18:15. There we go. We're taking out the lows. Anybody take these? Some of you take this? There's your trades right there. Gold's ready to break the swing high of the session right there. There goes gold. There goes gold right there. Entry 1, entry 2. ES short here. Kiss and roll out of the back. Short entry 2. YM short entry. Stopped out. Kiss and roll off the midband. Short entry 2. NASDAQ. Short entry 1, stopped out, kiss and roll, short entry 2. Do it every day. Every day I do the same thing. This exact same thing that you're watching right here is what I do every morning. Except I put all these charts on one screen. Of course, obviously I have 4 huge screens, so they're all spread out. They're not all right next to each other like this. Look at gold go. Should have taken these trades. So that was the retracement for the short on the kiss and roll on ES. So the first push was this one right here. And that was short entry number 2 out of that box that I drew as it was happening. Right here. Got your scalp off again, right to lines 2. You like that? What do you think? It's pretty cool. We're getting to watch it happen in real time. Sometimes in after hours markets, you don't get the follow through like I'm trying to show you here. But in this case, we're getting some good market correlations and good movement in the after hours session. But that's how you do it, right there. This move over here was a push to here. Blow up the gold a little bit so you can see it better. So the initial pop, of course, you can see was right here. And the retrace was, see how they're all moving together? Now, there are times when this correlation doesn't work. If you recall this morning, there was an occasion where the equities were going up and gold was going up. Remember? Gold took off like a bird and the equities were on fire. That's pretty rare, but lately it's been happening, mainly because gold is at a multi-year high. So there's a lot of upward bias on gold. So you go back and look, 1626, I believe this is like a 3-year high on gold. And so gold's been on a tear. And so occasionally what will happen is there will be an occasion where the correlation between the equity markets and gold may not be intact. But it usually only lasts for, maybe like an hour or two, or like a morning, and then after that little bit part's done, then they normally sink back up again. That help, Tom? No, they're not necessarily breakout trades per se, Trafone, mainly because you can see here, the short entry was the kiss and roll off of resistance. So that was actually your short entry on NASDAQ. Right here. Right? See it? I mean, could you have shorted this break of support? Yes. Would that be more of a breakdown trade? Yes. The actual entry would have been the kiss and roll off of here. Right? The YM trade, would that have been a breakout that stopped out? Yes. Was the better entry to get up the kiss and roll off the midband? Yes. Right here. That was the actual short entry. And of course, you see the same with ES. This wasn't really a breakout. This was a break of support at the midband through that box. Scalp trade number 1 on SE. Retrace, kiss and roll out of the box under the midbands. Short entry 2. Stand by. Let me get that. I don't know who that is. All right, everybody, I got to go. I'm going to stop the recorder. Thank you for